have a choice. It's either mama's office, it might be a different day for it, but we have some traditions. One, you have to have that seal, several places. You also have to have a picture of George Washington, who was one of our founding fathers for the government. But this picture that Ronald Reagan had was when he was still in the military. So this is what it is. The pictures behind there are what he wanted. Now, there are 4 doors. That door over there leads to another little private office. You and I, when we come to visit, we go sit in this door.
Let's go. Oh, God.
It's going to be 4 groups. Only 4 groups, huh? They are? Well, let me put this, the Russian, come on, cameras up here. Cameras first. Yeah, because I've got 2 cameras, the other 2 are my writers.
That's okay.
Sorry about that. In here. Because they come out when we walk by you. We can't go in until they come out. Okay? We will come out the same way. Yeah. So we all know that because I know this. We ready? Okay.
But I did have a chance to what he's talking about, making a statement today, that we don't, our argument's not with the people there, and we certainly don't want to see it destroyed, community there, respect for their culture and all that. I mean, I should have made that clear sooner, I think, but I think it's coming out.
Okay, lights, please. Thank you.
That's it.
Have a chair right, please.
That's it. Cognacs. Cognacs. Cognacs means it's all over in Russian, guys. You keep them in the Russian group, it's all over.
Hey, you only need a few words in any language. How's Bert? I got a good shot. I got a good shot.
It's a nice day for doing something.
Oh, it's such a beautiful day. It's been wonderful. You know, we've already had one event outside. I love it when we have those outdoor events when it's not too heavy and hot.
This is all new?
This is a new rug. We had this rug built, or made, if you will, woven by a wonderful company on Long Island. Immigrant families from Italy came over several decades ago now, and they did wonderful work. It's beautiful. When I came here, I thought the office should have a darker rug. You can see how light it is. It's wonderful to work in. There's a lot of lighting and a lot of natural light, and I think it's better. So we finally got it in. I like it a lot.
When was the first time you ever came to this office in your life?
When President Carter was here. I was in the Oval Office a couple of times, and so that would be in the late 70s, and then in 1980 I was here right before he left office.
Was it a special thing?
Oh, sure. It's a terrific place, and it carries so much of the history of the White House, although a lot of people don't know that the Oval Office is actually the newest room in the White House. It was not built until Franklin Roosevelt became president. He loved these oval rooms, and he kept an Oval Office in one of the rooms up here in the White House, in the residence. So he built this in 1934, is a wonderful place.
Do you use it as a working office?
Yes. Not every president has, but I do.
Why'd you decide to do that?
Because I like working here. I like, it's open, it's airy, you can have a significant number of people in meetings. You've always got a lot of natural light. It's a comfortable place for me to work. I work here alone a lot. I have a little office back here in the back that is smaller, that I go sometimes to read or just to be alone for half an hour, sometimes take a brief nap. But by and large, I work here. And then I have an office up in the White House where I work at night, and sometimes on the weekends. But I really do like working here. Not every president has, but I do. I can spend hours here. I never get tired of this room.
Let's take a little look at this back half of
Okay.
the office and starting over here. What's this painting?
This is a very famous painting by Childe Hassam. He painted in the early part of this century about 2 dozen, a little more than 2 dozen of these flag paintings. And this is a painting of New York City in the rain on Flag Day during World War I in 1917. It's quite a wonderful picture. It's been in the White House a good while, but it had never been in the Oval Office until I became president. So we put it here, and I think it looks wonderful here. It goes very well with the room and the curtains, and it's a great piece of art, and a lot of people enjoy it, and a lot of people who know that it's been in the White House a long time find it surprising that it's never been in the Oval Office.
Was this your idea, Rodin?
Yes, this is obviously Rodin's The Thinker, a smaller version of it, and it was loaned to us for the term of my presidency by Iris and Bernie Cantor of New York. And they've been very good to us in sort of supporting art in the public life. So I have it there, and occasionally I look at it. Once one of the best pictures that's been taken in the Oval Office was taken of former Prime Minister Miyazawa of Japan, who's not very tall. You know, and he was here almost looking directly into the eyes, doing like this. So we have a picture that looks like these two thinkers looking at each other.
What does the thinker mean to you?
Well, you know, it's first of all, it's a beautiful work of art, but shows the power of reflection. And because of the strength of the person doing it, the obvious enormous physical strength, I like it because there's nothing weak associated with pondering and thinking and trying to work through something.
How often do you do that?
Every day, always.
Certain time of the day?
Yeah, a lot of the, most of the, has been frequently said, most of the easy decisions have been made before they get to this desk, so I think a lot about it.
But do you spend the time early in the morning, late at night? When's the time you think the most?
Probably in the morning before I come over here, and late at night. And then I try to take, every day I try to take a couple of hours for phone calls and office time, and if I can do it, I'll sometimes take a little time out in the middle of the day when I'm still fairly refreshed to really kind of work through some of the big problems.
How much sleep are you getting now?
I try to get at least 6 hours a night, and I want to get 7. I never needed that much before I became president, but I do need more sleep now than I used to. Now, last night I didn't get it. Some nights I don't get quite 6 hours, but I try to get no less than 6 and shoot towards 7.
Will you sleep right through the night?
Oh, almost always. I sleep well when I go to sleep. It's probably because I'm tired by the time I get there.
This is a spot that people love to ponder. Is this all yours?
Yeah, these are all just my things. They're my bust of Franklin Roosevelt, my bust of Abraham Lincoln, my books, a copy of the first authorized biography of Abraham Lincoln going back to his campaign in 1860, a book on Robert Kennedy that I wrote the introduction of on the 25th anniversary of his death, a book of Václav Havel's letters that he wrote to his wife when he was in prison, a Bible given to me by a minister friend.
Have you read all that?
I've read a lot of this. Of course, I've got my whole presidential library in there. You know, all in my little private office, I've got rows and rows of books, the biographies of presidents and all that. I've read most of it. Here are 5 books that I haven't read that I've got in here because I'm working on them. This is a book on Roosevelt's first term, which I've begun. 2 biographies of Jefferson. This new one by Willard Stern Randall was given, it just come out, and it was given to me by the Vice President for my birthday. And a copy of David Halberstam's book on the 50s and Rick Smith's book on how Washington works. So I've got them out here because I get into them and I start them as time permits. Sometimes I read 4 or 5 different books at once, and sometimes I never quite finish them all, but I get the gist of them and then go on to other things.
You've got the bust of FDR and the bust of Abraham Lincoln. How come those two?
I admired them both very much for different reasons.
What's the reason for admiring FDR?
Well, he gave the country confidence again when it was broken. And he tried things until he found something that worked, which is what I think you have to do in a time of change. I mean, he found a country that was in deep difficulty, and he energized the country and gave it confidence and then began to try things. And in a different time, that's what I should be doing now. Lincoln, for obvious reasons, he understood that the whole legacy and future of America were at stake. And he gave his life for the Union. He had the ability to make people see big things in profound ways, ordinary people, and to keep them with him. It was a very great man. I also, you know, I've got some other things here we can't see. I've got my little bust of Teddy Roosevelt, whom I admired very much, and my bust of Thomas Jefferson over there, along with a copy of the only book he ever wrote, The Notes on the State of Virginia. I was given an original printing, an 18-1 printing, before I became president. I treasure it a lot. And these are just, you know, presidential medals I've taken over time. President Eisenhower, President Truman, President Kennedy.
You also have a copy of your
My bus here.
bus. What, looking back on that, what was the importance of the bus trip?
Oh, I think it really connected us to America. I think when we got on that bus right after the Democratic Convention, people knew that we were reaching out to them and that we wanted not only to change this country, but to change it for the benefit of ordinary Americans. And I keep this bus here every day to remind me of that bus really did carry us to the White House.
Mother Teresa, picture.
A young woman photographer from California was taking pictures of my group when we were out in Alameda at the Naval Base to talk about defense conversion. And she sent copies of the pictures to our office and sent me this photograph she took of Mother Teresa, whom I admire very much, and I was so moved by the photo, I just kept it there. That's my daughter's clay dad she put there. She gave me that for Father's Day.
You got a little
Ben Franklin.
Is that a little cup of Winston Churchill? Or
Yeah,
whatever?
I'm a great Churchill admirer. I've read a lot of books about him and some of his writings, and I thought that was cute. Somebody gave that to me, and I've just kept it there, along with this little porcelain of Ben Franklin, whom I also admire very much.
U.S. News, Time, and Newsweek, is that a regular?
They keep the news magazines and sometimes some of the business magazines too. Every week I get an updated version, and then when I can, I turn around and just scan them, see what's in them every week.
Just take it.
My,
Oh, go ahead.
The rest of them are
No,
just family
so
pictures, as you can see. My mother, my stepfather, my family.
What
This
year
is
was
my
it?
about to be 89-year-old uncle from Hope, Arkansas, who's one of the favorite people I ever knew.
Back in the back is a picture of your wife and Chelsea and you. What year was that?
That was probably about 1985. Chelsea was about 5 then. That's 84, 85. It's a family picture I really like, though. It's one of my favorite family photos. We did that for the former governor's mansion photo when we were living in Arkansas.
We'll walk around the front of this desk here so that and get you to talk a little bit about the desk. How important was this choice?
Oh, it's very important to me. This desk has an enormous amount of historic significance. Most Americans remember it because of one very famous photo. President Kennedy had this desk. And
Let me get out of the way here.
if you look down here, this is a door, and his son, when he was very young, was crawling under the desk, pushed that little door open and crawled out, and a photographer caught that, and the picture appeared all over the world. It's sort of a symbol of Kennedy's youth and vigor and the fact that he had this neat young person, a young son. And it's interesting that John Kennedy Jr. was in this room and saw this desk for the first time in a very long time, not very long ago. But this desk, before that, was used by Franklin Roosevelt over in the White House to give his fireside chats. So the famous fireside chats were delivered from this desk. The desk was given to the United States in 1880 by Queen Victoria, and it's made from the timbers of a ship called the Resolute, which ran aground and was rescued by an American ship, returned to England. So when Victoria was grateful, and the ship actually sailed for more than 20 years after that, when they took it down, she had this desk made and given to the president. It had never been in the Oval Office before President Kennedy. And then President Kennedy and President Reagan and President Carter used it in the Oval Office. And I brought it back. President Bush used it upstairs in the White House. So there have only been 4 presidents, even though it's been here for over 100 years, who've actually had it here. But I think it belongs here. It's a beautiful desk, and it fits in this room.
And before we sit down, what about the seal? Was that hard to do? Like, this cost a lot of money?
I think it cost quite a bit, but we were, most of the work we've done in the White House, we've been able to raise the funds for, so it hasn't cost the taxpayers money. But you can see all the difficult weaving that was required. And again, we wanted the thing, it had to be, once the dark blue background was picked, then the seal itself had to be in very vivid colors. There's an interesting thing, the eagle here facing the olive branch and facing away from the arrows. Until after World War II, the American eagle had always faced toward the arrows, toward war. And Harry Truman actually had it turned around. It's an interesting thing. A lot of Americans don't know that.
When you look at this whole room and people come to visit you, what's the first thing they want to look at?
I think the first thing they do is look around. They want to see what it feels like. A lot of people have never even been in an oval room before, you know, or they never really thought about it. And it's such an uplifting, you know. And then normally we go around the room, and the things you and I did, we look at the Andy Jackson painting over there, or the painting of Washington, or the sculptures of Harry Truman and Benjamin Franklin I have here. People ask me things about it. But I think the first thing people look at is just the feel of the room, and then they look at the rug, and then they look at the desk, and then we do the rest.
When did this office feel comfortable for you?
Oh, almost immediately. I felt good here. I liked working here from the beginning. It's fun to be here in the morning when it's beautiful. When I finish my morning run, a lot of mornings I just come over here and drink some water and cool off and, you know, read some of the things I'm supposed to read in the morning, but even before I go back and get ready for the day. I do like it a lot, and it's a wonderful place to receive foreign visitors. It's a wonderful place to have meetings in. It's limited, you know, you can only have so many people in here, but it's a great place. It's very much a working office, though. We have a lot of staff meetings here, and we do a lot of the work of the presidency right here. You know, when you have a teenage child, it's...
I realize it's a high honor to be the president of this great country, and the Oval Office reminds me of that. Reminds me of that because of its beauty, and reminds me of that because of all the people who have come before me. And first thing I see every morning when I come in is the sun shining through these big windows, and the windows are magnificent. They let in the sunlight. It's a great place for me to view the wonderful South Lawn. And the rug we've designed, each president designs a rug, and the rug that Laura designed for the Oval Office captures the sun, and it helps make this room a open and optimistic place. In the center of all the presidential rugs, of course, the great seal of our country. Interestingly enough, the eagle, as you can see, faces the talon with the olive branch, and yet the old seal had the eagle looking at the talon with the arrows. After World War II, Harry Truman changed the seal so that America was looking at peace, not at war. Of course, it's always important to make sure we got enough arrows in the talon to keep the peace. I sit here at this desk. It's a famous old desk called the HMS Resolute. It has been used by a lot of presidents. President Roosevelt used it. Both Roosevelts used it, for that matter. President Reagan used it. And, of course, probably the most famous picture in the Oval Office was right out this door, where John Kennedy poked his head when his dad was the President of the United States. This door, by the way, was put on the desk by Franklin Roosevelt to uncover his infirmities. I love the ornate nature of the desk. It's a beautiful piece of furniture, and it fits in nicely with the Oval Office. Each president can put whatever paintings he wants on the walls. I've chosen some paintings that kind of reflect my nature. This is called A Charge to Keep I Have by W.H.D. Kerner. It's a Western painting. It shows a horseman charging up a steep cliff, determined to achieve an objective. The song is based upon a Methodist hymn, A Charge to Keep I Have, or a hymn. The painting is based upon a hymn called A Charge to Keep I Have, and it talks about serving something greater than yourself in life. A president must always keep that in mind. A president must serve the nation and not himself, not his self-interests. A president must be the president of all the people, not just those who voted for him. And a president has got to elevate the discourse to and set goals that are bigger than political parties. I put Abe Lincoln on the wall because the job of a president is to unite the nation. You can't achieve big goals and big objectives, which is the job of the president. The job of a president is to set big goals for the country, big objectives. And in order to achieve those objectives, the country must be united. But Abe Lincoln had the toughest job of all as President of the United States in achieving big goals and big objectives because the country was divided. It was fighting itself. And yet when you read his writings, he constantly thought about how best to keep the Union together. I've also got George Washington on the wall here. And the answer is I don't think you could have the Oval Office without George Washington, the first president of our country. He's just a perfect fit. The other paintings on the wall are from Texas. This is Onderdock. A man named Julian Onderdock painted these paintings. A man named Julian Onderdock was the artist. And there's a picture of the Alamo in West Texas. The Texas paintings are on the wall because that's where I'm from and where I'm going. It's an honor to serve here in the Oval Office, but my home will be in Texas. This also is a Texas painting by a man named Tom Lee. He's a personal friend of Laura and mine. He passed away, unfortunately, this year. This painting here is by Tom Lee. He was a personal friend of Laura and mine. He was from El Paso, Texas. He wrote this about, at one time Tom wrote this. He said, Sarah and I live on the east side of the mountain. It is the sunrise side, not the sunset side. It is the side to see the day that is coming, not to see the day that is gone. I love that quote because it is a president must see a day that is coming, not the day that is gone. The president has got to see a better day for America. And I do see a better day for this country. And this painting reminds me of the optimistic spirit that I feel in my heart about the country. And finally, the final painting is also a Julian Onderdock. It's a beautiful setting of Texas bluebonnets, which is the Texas flag. The painting is a setting of Texas bluebonnets. It's done by Julian Onderdock. This kind of reminds me of our ranch in the Crawford area. And even though I don't get to spend as much time as I'd like to, just looking at the picture kind of reminds me of a place that Laura and I love. I've got 3 busts here in the Oval Office. The first that I'd like to show you is of Winston Churchill. This was on loan from the British government. My friend, the Prime Minister of Great Britain, heard me say that I greatly admired Winston Churchill. And so he saw to it that the government loaned me this, and I'm most honored to have this Jacob Epstein bust of Winston Churchill. I like Churchill because he was a great war leader. He was resolute, he was tough, he knew what he believed, and he had a fabulous sense of humor. And in this job, believe me, you've got to have a sense of humor. Otherwise, it makes the days awfully long and the nights awfully short. This is Abraham Lincoln. Again, it's Lincoln, as you can tell, is one of my favorite presidents because of not only because of his great wisdom and strength, but because he loved America and realized a united America is important for the future of our land. And finally, Dwight David Eisenhower, Ike. Finally, we got Dwight David Eisenhower here. He was a steady, solid president. He performed well in office. In this town, there's a lot of talk and sometimes not enough action and results. And Eisenhower was a modest person who did a heck of a lot of good work on behalf of all Americans. And I appreciated his leadership style. One of the things that people see in the Oval Office, of course, when the president speaks from the Oval Office, is the pictures behind his desk. And my pictures are my family. The pictures I have behind my desk are of my family, because my family is a priority in my life. And they've got pictures of our girls, pictures of the First Lady and other members of our family, Barney and Spot, the dogs, pictures of my grandparents, pictures of my dad. I love to have my family behind me, in spirit as well as in pictures. And so that's the Oval Office.
While away on vacation, the Obamas had the Oval Office remodeled from this previous look that was left over from the Bush administration to a newly designed space that handheld camera crews were allowed to shoot for just about 3 minutes. Highlights of the changes as provided by the White House are new and reupholstered furniture, new paint and wallpaper, as well as a new rug. We recently spent time with President Obama in the Oval Office before it was redecorated, asking him about life in the White House and working in the Oval Office.
Mr. President, what's it like to live in the White House?
Well, it is an extraordinary experience. I think the thing that Michelle and I and the girls appreciate most is the staff, which are so diligent, constantly thinking about how to make the first family comfortable in what is, to some degree, an artificial environment. And so they are wonderful and have become great friends. I also have the shortest commute of anybody I know. And that makes a huge difference, because it means no matter how long I'm working any given day, I can always go upstairs and see my wife and kids. And that's something that I probably appreciate more than anything else about being here in the White House.
What'd you change in this room?
Well, the truth of the matter is we have not yet redecorated this room. The tradition is that every president comes in and they rework it. Given that we are in the midst of some very difficult economic times, we decided to hold off last year in terms of making some changes. But I did make a few personal changes. One was that bust of Martin Luther King Jr. To remind me of all the extraordinary dedication of a lot of people to allow me to have the privilege of serving in this office. We got some of these neat gadgets that were donated to us. These are actually original patents that were provided. And some of them date back to the early 1800s, but it's a good reminder of part of what makes this country so great is our inventiveness, and so those are nice additions. I think initially there were a bunch of plates up there, and we decided I've got a whole plate room over there that we don't need another one here.
You keep George Washington here?
I kept George Washington here. We kept Lincoln here. I love, this is one of my favorite pictures. This was donated by Steven Spielberg, I think, to Bill Clinton. It's a Norman Rockwell. And from a distance, it just looks like a portrait of the Statue of Liberty, but when you look more closely, you've got these three guys up there cleaning the torch, and it's a reminder that we constantly have to renew the flames of our democracy.
So when people come into this room, how do you notice them react to you and to the room?
Well, somebody said, this is the greatest home court advantage that you could have in this office. And I do think that people feel a certain reverence for the space because it symbolizes the presidency, and it symbolizes you know, what has been the extraordinary record of tough decisions, monumental decisions that have been made in this room. So usually people do have a little bit of a pause before they step in. But hopefully my job is to make them feel comfortable, have them take a seat, and after that they're usually fine.
You've quietly on 2 occasions snuck in a bunch of historians,
Yeah.
a little bit of off-the-record meetings.
Right.
Over, I believe it's over in the dining room.
Yeah,
over in
that's
the
right.
state dining room.
Right.
What's your relationship with history? Obviously, I know one section was 9 of them.
Right.
And tell us about the way you feel about the
Well,
history.
you know, when you occupy this office, you are constantly reminded that you are just one of a series of people who've dedicated their lives to protecting the country and making our democracy function. It's a very humbling experience, and so I spend a lot of time reading history, just to remind myself of the standards I have to live up to. Also mistakes that have been made in the past by occupants of this office. Then having the chance to talk personally to some of these historians ends up being helpful to provide some perspective, because particularly in this 24-hour news cycle that we live in here in Washington, so much of the attention is on the daily ups and downs of politics, and my job is to constantly remember that you know, what I do here is on behalf of not just tomorrow, but on behalf of the next generation.
So was there a time in this office, you're in here alone, and you looked up and said, I can't quite believe this?
I think, I'm sure every president would say the first day that they're here. You know, there's a tradition that the previous occupant leaves a letter behind for the next one. And President Bush, who was very gracious to both me and my family during the transition, had left one, and I came in here by myself and read that letter. And it was a beautiful, sunny, although cold day, and you looked around and you said to yourself, better not screw up.
Where in the White House do you find yourself the happiest?
Well, I will say that the South Lawn is extraordinary, and you know, we built this play set out here that Malia and Sasha used to use a lot. They're now getting old enough where sometimes they don't use it as much as we expect, but I've got nieces and nephews and kids of staff coming, and there are times where I'm working here and I'll look out the window and suddenly somebody's on a swing or laughing as they go down a slide, and it reminds you of why you're doing what we're doing. And every once in a while Bo runs by, and that's always cheerful. You know, they say if you want a friend in Washington, get a dog. Well, I've got one, and he's a pretty good friend.
What about the Lincoln bedroom?
You know, the Lincoln bedroom, I don't go into much, except when there are visitors. Every once in a while, I'll sneak in just to reread the Gettysburg Address, especially when I've got a big speech, because I'm constantly reminding myself that that was only 3 minutes long. So if I have a tendency to get long-winded, it's useful to take a look at that piece of genius and remember that there's something to brevity when it comes to making your point.
Do you ever feel in the White House like you're going to be here for a long time?
No, I mean, I think that both me and the family recognize that this is the people's house, that we're temporary occupants, which means that we want to make sure that we leave this place in as extraordinary a condition as we found it. And I think that there's a humility there. We also want to constantly bring people into the White House. So we've done a lot of events with wounded warriors, with kids from surrounding schools who may somehow feel like this is just a world apart, and we want to let them know this belongs to you. This is part of your legacy as an American citizen.
So what about the kids? What's their reaction to living here?
You know, they are of an age where I think they'd be comfortable just about anywhere. And the degree to which they've adapted to this place is pretty extraordinary. They treat it just like home, and that's exactly what we want. And it's a little bigger than our place in Chicago, but as I said, part of that is because the staff here has been so wonderful to them and helpful to them. So they're having a ball, and they're less constrained in terms of their ability to leave the White House. They don't have a press pool that's following them everywhere, and they end up, I think, having the best of both worlds. As does my mother-in-law, who lives on the 3rd floor. She helps with the kids. I think initially was very resistant. She lived in a small bungalow in Chicago for 40 years, and suddenly she's in the White House. But she's gotten to like it okay, and she can always just wander out the gate and go take a walk, and nobody knows who she is.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Enjoy it. Thank you, Brian.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Can you take anything from here? Take a lending program or anything, Mr. President?
I think I can take my pictures.
Yeah, that would be only fair.
Generally speaking, this is property of the people in the United States of America. I always tell my team that my lease is running out, but I do want to get my security deposit back. So don't break anything while you're here.
Right.
Don't mess up. Don't put your dirty fingers on the wallpaper.
No red wine on the carpet.
No. I'm trying to keep the thing in order.
Yeah, well, we appreciate that. The taxpayers appreciate your punctiliousness, Mr. President.
After our interview, President Trump took us across the hall to the Oval Office. In the room where it happens, the president discussed his transition from real estate tycoon to leader of the free world. And he gave some insight into how he makes the tough decisions he faces every day. So have you gotten comfortable with the place yet, sir?
I have. I feel very comfortable. It took me a little while. You know, it's sort of incredible. You say you're the President of the United States, and I say, wow. And it takes a little while to get over
I was going to ask you, the first time that you're in the Oval Office by yourself, everybody's gone, you're looking around the room, the iconic room, the most famous.
Here we are. Do you know, I've had people come into this, the biggest people in the world, presidents, prime ministers, the heads of the biggest companies in the world, and they always stop and they say, this is the Oval Office. Yeah. This is the Oval Office. There's nothing like it in the world. This is the Resolute Desk, very famous. This is where John at the time, right? John Kennedy was right here. That's a little door that opens up. Right. And that was a famous picture. I could show you that picture. In fact, I'll give it to you. But this is a very important desk. FDR, John Kennedy. You know, we have 7 desks. And as president, you can choose any one of the desks. This is, to me, I think the most beautiful in terms of its carving. I also think, in many respects, it's, just some people that I respect.
When you're sitting at the desk, how do you make decisions? I mean, do you agonize over them? Do you second guess yourself? How does...
I don't think about it. I don't think about, how I make them. I make what I consider the right decision. I have great people working at the White House. They don't get enough credit. I have some tremendously talented people, and I will talk to them, and sometimes I'll have them go at each other. I do like that, let them go at each other. And they do. They're very competitive people. And at the end, I make a decision. And certainly on the economy, a lot of things, we've made a lot of good decisions, and I want to keep it that way.
Do you ever second guess yourself? Do you ever?
Yes, all the time.
And do you sometimes change your?
I've done things where I wished I went a different route, but then what you do is you change course and you bring it back, you stabilize it out. But
toughest decision you've had to make as president?
Well, I think North Korea's been very tough because, we were very close. When I took that over, President Obama, right in those 2 chairs, we sat and talked, and he said that's by far the biggest problem that this country has. And I think we had a real decision as to which way to go in North Korea. And certainly, at least so far, I'm very happy with the way we went. I have a very good relationship.
Even though there's talk about that they're putting new sites?
Maybe they are, maybe they're not. I don't believe that. I don't. And, could be. And which is, if that's the way it goes, that's the way it goes. I go with the way we have to go. But so far, it's been good. We have a very good relationship. We've made I think, some great decisions for the people of this country. And I do, I put America first. And other countries should put themselves first. It's not like we should put and everybody else should be second us. No. Other countries are proud of their countries, and their leaders should put their countries first. But we were putting our country, in many cases, last. We were more worried about the world than we were worried about the United States. That's not going to happen with me.
Hey, Architectural Digest. Welcome to the Oval Office. Come on in. This is the White House. This is it. On Inauguration Day, the outgoing president has to be out by, I think, noon or 10 o'clock in the morning. Incoming can't come in until 4 o'clock, so you can decide what furniture and what decorations you want in the Oval Office. And I had asked my brother to help me set up my office in here on the rug and the furniture, because he's a better architect than I am. What they do is, in suburban Maryland, there is a facility that is a replica in terms of dimensions of the Oval Office. And so you go out there and pick the furniture and the rugs you want, see what it looks like. And so my brother knows my taste extremely well. I love this rug. I love the color blue. That's the one thing I knew I wanted. The rest, my brother picked out for me. And he had called a good friend, John Meacham, the presidential historian, for some help. I've spent more time with the Chinese leader than any other head of state. And he asked me, he said, can I define America? I said, yes, I can, in one word, and I mean it. Possibilities. Possibilities. We Americans think anything is possible when we would do it together. And that's why John Meacham helped my brother pick out those 5 portraits up there. It's all about possibilities. There's not a single thing we can't do. This was the Resolute desk that John Kennedy had. And remember that famous picture where John, his son, where he came out from under the desk? Well, he comes out this door here. That's where he climbed out. Well, I have a little grandson, and what I decided to do when we came in here, let me show you. And that's my grandson, Bowie, coming out from underneath the desk. It's really an incredible office. I chose the things that sort of represent why I got into public life to begin with, for real. I wanted to be able to sit in my desk, but I looked down to see the 2 heroes I had. One was Dr. Martin Luther King, and the other is Bobby Kennedy. Then I have a woman who refused to move to the back of the bus, Rosa Parks. I have her bust in here as well. And there's one other person that was from that era. This is Cesar Chavez of the farm workers. He was organizing farm workers in the southern part of my state at the time. And I supported him. I never met him, but I supported what he was doing. It cost me in southern Delaware, but I admired the hell out of him. This is the love of my life and the life of my love. This is my daughter Ashley on her wedding day, and we're dancing the dance of the father and daughter. This one is really amazing. This is on the night Barack and I were declared Vice President and President of the United States. My mom, who admired Barack a lot, wasn't even supposed to be walking out on the stage. And they said, and now the next President and Vice President of the United States, Barack Obama and Joe Biden. And my mother grabs Barack's hand there and look at the look on his face. She goes, come on, honey, it's going to be okay. She walked him out on stage. She never stopped being everybody's mom. I have this rugby ball over here. This is the all-Irish rugby team. I have 2 cousins who were stars on that team, and they gave me this ball. And then every time I've been sworn into any public office, I've used this Bible. It's just an incredible keepsake that's been around in the family for a long time. By the way, the reason for Ben Franklin, I got to put that up because my kids went to Penn, and I was a professor at the University of Pennsylvania. This moon rock, it's pretty cool. It's literally a rock from the moon. This is my 67 Corvette. My dad didn't have a lot of money, but he managed the dealership. So when I got married, he gave this to me as a gift. I still have it. When I got elected president, Scranton decided to take Interstate 81, and the exit to Scranton used to be called the Central Scranton Expressway. They renamed it President Biden Expressway. You know, there's a lot of other things in here that are of consequence to me, and I think of all the incredible things that have happened in this office over the last couple hundred years, and it really is just an incredible honor to be here. Let me show you back here. People don't get to go back here very often. I think these are great sketches of Frederick Douglass. I have them put up on the wall here. There's a private office back here. This is where I come when I want to get away a little bit, to work on a speech. There's a great portrait of President Kennedy there. The Kennedys didn't like it because it made him look too contemplative. I think it's a great portrait of him. And on the wall here, a lot of kids will send me these cartoons, and I put them up on the wall, and then I take pictures of them and send them to the families, which the kids get a kick out of. I think they're really neat. And this is the house I was raised in Scranton, Pennsylvania, on North Washington Avenue, which, by the way, the last 3 blocks at the end of North Washington Avenue, they call Biden Way now. They've renamed it. This is a private dining room. Not many people get to come back here. Barack and I used to have lunch in those 8 years, once a week in this room right here. But I have a lot of personal family photographs back here. This is a picture of my son, Bo, who's passed away. That's my mom and my dad, and when I had darker hair. And here, they're what they call command coins. Command coins are given in the battlefield, and the president has a command coin. And my command coin has on the back of it the Bo's unit. We went to Iraq for a year, and so I'm going to give you a copy, give you one. If in fact next time I see you don't have it, you have to buy the drinks, but you're in luck. I'm the only Irish you've never met that's never had a drink in his life. Did you want to see the cabinet room? I want to show it to you. Come here. This is the cabinet room. Come on in. There's only one chair in here that's about 2 inches higher than every other chair. That's the president's chair. These chairs are really, really heavy. On the back of each chair is the name of the department they represent. This is the Secretary of Energy here in this chair. But there's a lot of really incredible things that have happened in this room. It's almost cathedral-like to me, because when we're in here, we're talking about things of enormous consequence. And by the way, there's a tradition in my office. These chocolate chip cookies are all homemade.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming by, Architectural Digest. By the way, I'm a subscriber. I'm a frustrated architect. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
President of the United States has given a tour of the Oval Office during an interview with affiliates at Fox News. Speaking with Laura Ingraham, President Trump took the presenter into the White House's inner sanctum for a rare look at some of the changes he's made.
We've taken a lot of great paintings out of the vault. And I don't know, maybe you could circle that somehow. So here's a question I ask. So Reagan has a place of prominence, and George Washington has a place of prominence. And I've asked this question maybe 200 times. People come in. I said, so who would you put in the place of prominence, George Washington or Ronald Reagan? Who would you put?
Washington.
So far, it's 219-0. And they like Reagan.
Oh, I love Reagan.
But here's what they like more than anything. So this is the Declaration of Independence.
Wow.
And they ask that this be done. It's never been up. It's been in the vaults for many, many decades. And they said, we have to do something like drapes or something, because the light eventually affects it. And it's very cool.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that great? Just went up yesterday.
Wow.
Think Joe Biden would do this? I don't think so. Do you think he'd think of it? Do you think he knows what it is?
Wow.
No, but look at it. So, but this was, none of these pictures were up. Oh, you know, very few. It's like very little. And it's been great.
Now, there was a lot made on another network about your bringing in the gold accents to Trumpify the Oval Office.
It needed a little life.
So you have the mantle, and you have the cherubs from,
Right.
is that from Mar-a-Lago?
Yeah, that's actually, they're gold, all gold, look. And you know, it's angels. They say angels bring good luck. And we need a lot of luck in this country with what they've done over the last 4 years. So take a look. Do you know that little secret? I don't know if you're going to waste your time putting this on, but throughout the years, people have tried to come up with a gold paint that would look like gold, and they've never been able to do it.
Can't do it.
You've never been able, look at that look. You've never been able to match gold with gold paint. That's why it's gold. And this is very important. Very proud of this, Gulf of America. And in fact, Elon said to me, you know, we're landing in the Gulf of America. So he was saying, and he said it naturally. He said it so routinely. He said, yeah, the capsule, you know, is landing in the Gulf of America. So I called Elon, where is it dropping down? He said, Gulf of America. How cool is that, right?
What do you think all these presidents would think right now about
I think
the
they'd
state
be
of the
proud
country?
of our country. I think a year ago they would have been disgraced by our country, and I think today they're proud of our country. This is the Resolute desk, by the way. I had that just redone by an unbelievable group. They do only the White House furniture. They do only very special. This is the Resolute desk. Many great presidents sat behind that desk, and many didn't. I mean, you know, they have 7. When you're president, they give you a choice of 7 desks. This is the one.
Why? Why did you want this?
Just like I like the history. You had Reagan, you had Kennedy. That was the famous one with John, who I knew very well, and he was a friend of mine. He was a great guy. He would have been maybe president someday. He would have been a real chance to be president. He was going to get into politics. He was actually a great guy. John. But remember when he was a young boy, the picture of him at the bottom of the desk?
Where's the Coke button?
It's right here. Everyone thinks that's the nuclear. Everyone thinks that's the nuclear weapon. They think it's a nuclear weapon. They say if I press this, it's the end of the world.
Oh, and then there's like
and it doesn't seem to work out that way.
50.
Doesn't that look beautiful though over there? But to me, you know what looks beautiful? The Gulf of America. Look at that.
Which one's better? Which one?
I'll take the Declaration of Independence. I think so. Isn't that cool?
When's the first time you signed? The way you sign your name, it's just people are so fascinated. But have you had that signature since you were little?
Pretty much, but it's become sharper. In other words, if I look at it from 20 years ago, it was similar, but it was much softer.
And you like when your staff secretary reads out the executive orders to you when you're sitting
No, I only
here?
do that for the media, for the fake news.
Okay.
This way, yeah, they read it out. And, you know, I'll do now, because I don't even have to move. I'll do them, I'll sit here, I'll do them. And you can do a lot. They get a kick when I'm doing other work and doing a news conference when you had another guy that couldn't name his favorite ice cream. They always used to ask him, what's your favorite ice cream? Vanilla. Oh, great. He's done a press conference, ladies and gentlemen. It was crazy.
Will you talk to him again, do you think?
Yeah, I'll talk
Joe
to
Biden.
him. Sure.
Do you ever call any former president? Do you call any of the former presidents?
Not much.
No.
A lot was made out of the fact that I got along very well with President Obama, right? You saw that.
Yeah, it seems so.
I can, you know, I can do things that a lot of people.
You were friends with pretty much all of them.
I just didn't like the job they did.